Welcome to the show. It's Ivy Nation. What is this show? It's Budweiser's Weekday Sportsbeat. It's like I'm sitting back where I used to sit for 3 years, and I forgot the name of the show. Budweiser's Weekday Sportsbeat with IrishBreakdown.com. I'm Sean Stires, along with Vince DeDario. I'm coming to you from California today, and I've got to say I'm pretty excited about that. I'm pretty happy about that. But Vince, before we start the show, I have one thing to say to you. Warriors come out to play, yay.
Oh, where did you get the bottles?
Warriors. These are glasses from the hotel room.
From the hotel room. You guys
did you get the video that I sent you the other day?
Yeah, I did.
What did you think of actually? Because it's funny, how our phones work these days. We of course talked about the Mac Hollins Warriors come out to play for the Patriots before the Broncos game on Monday's show. And so, of course, the next morning in my video social media feed, the video popped up and it was the actual movie cut.
Of course,
so you never responded. What did you think about the real thing?
I should have responded. I'm in a haze of snow days and everything else. I don't know what's left, what's right, what's up, what's down these days. I'm going to have to watch the movie, I guess, to really kind of appreciate everything that you guys were trying to tell me the other day. That's what's going to have to happen.
I had more Warriors videos pop up in my feed today, as a matter of fact, and I hadn't even talked about it. Sometimes it's really uncanny and creepy sometimes. Like sometimes I'll just think of something and it'll show up in my feed, and it's like, okay, man, are we that advanced now?
That's odd, but I've been there, and it's very disconcerting, if I'm going to be honest.
I know. It is Mailbag Day, and we have a few questions from the Irish Breakdowns Champions Lounge. If you're filing into the chat room or the showroom right now on YouTube, whether it be in the Irish Breakdown YouTube channel or the Sports Radio WSBT YouTube channel, pop in your Notre Dame football question or your question about whatever else, because as Salty always likes to remind us, there ain't no bag like a mailbag. So Get your questions in. We'll answer them. If you don't get your questions in, it's going to be a pretty long show. So
we can. Hey, you and I have never had an issue.
About. There are things we can talk about, but I'm in my hotel room in Berkeley. To my behind me is the San Francisco Bay.
Okay.
As I look directly out my window, which is in front of me right now, it is the Cal Berkeley campus. I made a stroll through campus this morning. Nice little tight, compact. I didn't realize it was on a hill. But it actually sits kind of on a hill. Walked by some of the athletic facilities this morning. One of the things that I like to do, especially when we go to some warm weather places, and in the ACC, it's typically warmer than South Bend, no matter where we go. But I like to go out, find a little coffee spot, go get me a coffee, and then go for a little walk through campus if I can. And since we're literally a 2-minute walk from campus, I think it's 5 minutes to Haas Arena,
nice.
where they're playing tomorrow night. So it was a nice little stroll, and there was no snow on the ground, and I didn't see my breath. So I'll take that every day of the week.
That's a win. Right. You're far enough away, I think, from the San Francisco area, across the bay, obviously, where it is a little bit warmer than it is over in San Francisco, I would imagine.
Right. Right.
So, because we drove from San Francisco to Sacramento, and it was 40-degree difference, but we drove past Berkeley.
Oh yeah,
and it's
the farther inland you go, the warmer it gets, and
by far.
Actually, once you get off the water, like when we went to Monterey Bay, which is probably a little bit more than an hour south of here, when we did that for vacation a couple of years ago, on the bay itself in Monterey, every morning it would be just thick fog and however maybe 60 degrees or something like that. You drive a little bit west into Salinas, which is, the next inland town, and it's literally 20 degrees warmer and sunshine,
Right.
So
yes,
a lot different.
Yeah, it was wild just watching the temp just like climb on the car, the car dash. It's like, oh my goodness, great. It went from like 60 to 90 like
very fast,
very quickly.
Yeah.
But anyway, we drove. I didn't realize how close Berkeley was to there. We drove by it and it was like, it must be a smaller campus than what I had envisioned or whatever, but it was very quick as we were driving on the highway. It's like boom, boom, done, gone. But
it seems very compact. Because
Yeah.
it's literally like we're downtown Berkeley, and then I think because of the hill, like the actual, like if you drew a circle around it, it's very tight. But because it's on a hill, it extends up. Campus extends up a little bit.
Right.
So, yeah. But I'm here because, of course, Notre Dame women's basketball against the Golden Bears. That'll be Thursday night at 10 o'clock Eastern time, a late night tip-off. And then I believe we are going straight from here after the game to Palo Alto for because we'll be at Stanford Sunday at 4 o'clock. I got to get my days straight because my times are already all out of whack.
Oh, I'm sure, because you're at 2 o'clock in the afternoon right now. I mean, you got the whole day ahead of you, my friend.
Realist, whatever. It's something Killa says Salinas is a ghetto. I mean, it's basically a farming community. So, yeah. I don't know about. I remember there was a mall there, like back when I was, stationed there for a year back in the late 1980s. That was the closest mall was in Salinas. I do remember we did.
Okay.
That. We went to a chocolate shop in Salinas, or close to Salinas anyway, when we were here this last time. So, by the way, before we answer some of these questions that are getting in, and again, get your questions in to the YouTube chat for us for the mailbag. Did you watch any of this Netflix show with the guy climbing the skyscraper over the weekend?
No, I saw it being like publicized on my front page of Netflix, but I did not watch it.
Yeah, I didn't either, and I didn't even know it was going on until people started talking about it. Over 6.2 million people watched that thing.
Wow. Is there more to it?
I don't think that I could have because like just the nerves of watching this guy with no safety net, no cables, no nothing, climb straight up this building. Like my hands would have just been wringing sweat. I couldn't have done it.
It's a show about a guy climbing a building. Is that really what, is there more to it than that? Am I missing something?
Just the fact that, again, it was a guy climbing a building, but with zero safety features.
No.
Literally up the outside part of a very high building.
Sure.
I don't know exactly how high it was, but it was high.
Sounds nuts to me.
Yeah.
They probably wouldn't have put it on Netflix if he fell, I would imagine. But
well, again, it was live. So
it was live.
Yeah.
Okay, that part I didn't know. Okay, that makes a lot more sense.
So there was the chance that he could have fallen at any time, and then
I take it back. That's apparently must-see TV. Then chance that he could die.
More than 6 million people thought so.
Decaf says it was on a 20-second delay in case he fell.
Just in case. Oh, well, there's. Yeah, so if that screen had gone black, it's pretty much like everyone knows what just happened.
God, that would have been awful. Can you imagine?
I know.
Cut the feed.
The only thing that would have been better is like if Tom Cruise was on the other side of the building climbing out,
like racing him.
Yeah, because I think Tom Cruise, a lot of those stunts that he's done in the Mission Impossible movies, he's done by himself. But
he has. That guy is nuts.
I think he's got a death wish.
He really does.
Stymie says the Notre Dame men let one slip away last night, and I did not get to see that.
During your travel, it was probably while you were traveling.
Yeah, it was when we landed. As soon as opened up Twitter, and it was like double overtime, and they had lost. Man.
It was. They built a sizable lead. I think they were up by like 19 at one point. And it was looking like, okay, Notre Dame's going to do this thing. The first ranked win in the Micah Shrewsbury era. They were 0 for 10 up to this point. Now they're 0 for 11. They had that game, and they had that game more ways than one and more opportunities. Obviously, you got to give Virginia credit. They're obviously a very good basketball team, and they clawed their way back. They battled their way back and hit some pretty big shots in overtime just to keep themselves in it. And they just made more shots than Notre Dame could. And really when you start getting into multiple overtimes, the bench what really was an issue because Notre Dame doesn't have a bench. They've got no bench whatsoever right now.
Yeah.
And I think Virginia went like 4 or 5 guys deep and they just ran out of legs. You know what I mean? And they just couldn't pull it out at the end. And so they did end up losing. Look, they fought, man. They had more fight in them this game than they've had in a really, really long time, in my opinion. They played well, but there were too many times where like set plays and like out of bounds plays, end of possessions and things like that, like end of clock possessions, things like that. They still they don't look like they really know what they're doing. And that's a problem for me.
Yeah, it is. It's a pretty distinct problem, honestly.
Yeah.
Playing for a Division I college basketball program and you don't know,
Yeah. Is it coaching? Is it the players? Is it whatever? I mean, you see some flashes of the young guys, doing well. But they I don't know what it is, but there's just still something missing. Maybe that something is Marcus Burton. I don't know, but there's still just something missing.
Well, I mean, they're definitely missing him. And when you're a program like Notre Dame and you have a player like Marcus Burton, that is a definite disadvantage, especially when you are so short with the bench. Like it would be like if the women were without Hannah Hidalgo. I mean, It's a direct comparison.
Absolutely.
And that would be a major loss. And knock on wood, that doesn't happen. Decaf 18 wants to know if Shrewsbury is on the hot seat. I don't know. Like it's
hard to say. I mean, I don't think he's going to get fired this year.
I don't either.
I would be shocked if that happened.
Especially because you do have the fallback that, you don't have Marcus Burton right now.
I don't think, and that's a big one. I mean, that's a big missing piece, right? And they've got 10 games left for the rest of the season. Does Marcus Burton even come back? Like, I don't have any inside information on that. I mean, he was up and jumping around, during the game. You guys see him on the end of the bench, in last night's game. Is he even going to come back? Is it worth coming back for 10 games, for however many games that they'll be left? Because they're not going to go to a tournament. Is there a reason for Marcus Burton to come back? He played in 10 games. And then I believe he's going to miss basically 2/3 of the season. Mm-hmm. So I'm sure he could get a medical red shirt for this year and then, have 2 years of eligibility left after this year. He flirted with the NBA last year. There's not going to be a flirt this year because he doesn't have that momentum, going into the end of the season. So, I mean, is this a lost season, Sean? Like, I don't think there's any reason for Marcus Burton to come back.
You're saying next year? I'm saying like this year.
Like, why would you come back and potentially burn your eligibility for this year?
Right.
Like, there's nothing to play for.
No, that's exactly right. I think the best that they can hope for at this point is the NIT, and that's not anything to come back for. And you're better off just saving it, get healthy. Yeah. And like you said, there's no guarantee. Well, he's only a junior right now anyway. So, he's automatically got next year. So you don't have to worry about that.
I was saying, and would he even come back for 2 additional years after this year? I don't know the answer to that, but I just feel like there's no point in him coming back this year unless he's dead set on leaving after being in college for 4 years, which maybe he is. You know what I mean? Then you come back, get a couple games under your belt. Okay. But I was just, I don't know. I don't feel like he needs to come back this year. There's just I
totally agree with that. I totally agree with that. When you were saying come back, I was thinking you were talking.
He doesn't have the momentum like he had at the end of last year. You know what I mean? To test the NBA waters and do those kinds of I just don't think he's got that type of momentum.
I agree.
Since he's been out.
I'm trying to get my screen sized right because there it is. Everything was shrunken a little bit. Oh. That's why I'm kind of having problems.
Can't have that.
Focusing because everything on my screen was too small.
Gotcha.
So Andy Matador says unless he wins out the rest of the season, he's getting canned. I think that's what many fans want, but that doesn't mean that's actually going to happen. I don't, because he can still fall back on. He didn't have Marcus Burton. He still has really good players who are young and who will also be joining the team next year. He's still got that to fall back on. So I like, if you asked me scale of 1 to 10, what are the chances Micah Shrewsbury is back coaching Notre Dame next year? I would go a solid 8.5.
Oh yeah,
I think
me too.
Is what that's my opinion.
Nope, I'm with you 100%. Like I think that there may be, a conversation at the end of the year. Obviously, look, every year there's, evaluations and all of those kinds of things that Pete Bavacqua does with his head coaches and things like that. I think there's a real conversation that takes place as to, okay, we're not looking to get rid of you now. Like, that's not where we're at, but what are we going to do differently this offseason and then going into next season where we're really going to see a difference, in the 26-27 year that we didn't have an opportunity to see in the 25-26 year. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
I think his seat is hotter, going into next year, seeing how next year plays out. If you have a repeat of this year, next year, then yeah, I think we're having a different conversation.
I agree. I would agree with that. Man, we've got all kinds of stuff in here.
Salty,
Josh, by the way, says, what's the show called? That's going back to the sky. I literally think it's called like Skyscraper or something.
Yeah, it's something like that. Yeah.
The Netflix show that we were talking about with the guy climbing the building. Stymie wants to know Tom Noy's next visit. We haven't had Tom on in a while.
Well, it hasn't been much to talk about. That's part of the problem.
No, but maybe we can get into the fact that there's not much to talk about. And some of these get his take since he is closer to that than we are in terms of what could be happening going forward, and just kind of what he thinks about where Notre Dame men's basketball is right now, where things stand, and all that kind of good stuff. Here's a question from the Champions Lounge from Fatfish.
Here we go.
Even if Notre Dame went on a title run, would the mainstream media give them any credit, or would they do the same old routine, i.e. last year's Georgia win was against a backup, et cetera, et cetera?
Look, it depends on who you listen to. There were plenty of people giving Notre Dame credit last year, at least the piece of people I listened to. There wasn't, don't listen to social media is what I would say there, okay? And depending on who you listen to as far as nationally is concerned, they were getting plenty of credit. I just think that, Notre Dame just needs to do it on a consistent basis. Once they start doing it on a consistent basis, they'll get all the love that they need to get. If they go and win a national championship, they'll get their love. They'll get, what they need to get. You got to take care of your own business, though, which Notre Dame has yet to do.
Yeah, I think that you're probably pretty blinded by just the whole college football playoff selection fiasco this year when you think about all the negative stuff, because everything has been much more negative this year because of the fallout and the head-to-head Notre Dame Miami debate and everything else that's come with it after that. But if you really think back to last year, I really don't even think there was a whole lot of, oh, well, they beat Georgia and they didn't have Carson back and those kind of things, especially when they went out and beat Penn State the next week. And then they, still had a strong showing, made a great comeback in the national championship game. Like, there was a lot of really good glow in the moment for Notre Dame and Marcus Freeman specifically, and the difference in the program now compared to 5 or 6 years ago, and how Notre Dame failed to show up on the national set. Like, there was a lot of really good glow for Marcus Freeman and Notre Dame a year ago. So I think that you're kind of being blinded by the fact that there was so much negative stuff this year, but there was a lot of great, Notre Dame momentum going into last season. It's just that Notre Dame got itself behind the 8 ball, and then all that Notre Dame versus Miami talk prior to the playoff. That's where all the really, negative reaction came from. So I agree. It's like, especially if you stay off social media, you're probably a lot better off.
way, way better off.
Exactly. Let me see. I'm not used. It's weird, man. It's like I'm almost doing things left-handed now, since I'm usually sitting in the studio and I'm back to doing things on my computer at home. Yeah. It's a lot different. Double R 2.0. Way too early preseason top 5. for college football. And I saw one of these in the YouTube chat as well.
Man,
I mean, there have been a million way too early.
Yeah, there. And in fact, Brian and Trevor did their way too early top 25 today. That was their show topic. I have not looked at their show at their show today since I was working, but that is what they talked about today. So I'm actually curious to see who they had as their as theirs.
I mean, for mine, I think that I would probably, as much as I hate to do it, I'd probably have to start with Ohio State at number 1, just because of, they do have a returning quarterback, and like always, they've got a really talented roster. Sure. I would have Oregon in there for the same reason. They got Dante Moore to come back, and the roster that they have. I would have Notre Dame probably around number 3. Because of, they are the team that just missed out on going to the playoff this year. And, a lot of these preseason rankings have them down around that 8-9 area. But I think what a lot of people are missing out on is the fact that Notre Dame does have the best returning quarterback in the nation in CJ Carr. And they do have so much back on off. Do they lose Jeremiah Love and Jadarian Price? Yeah. But they've got virtually, you lose a couple guys on the offensive line. They've got virtually everybody else. They've got so much back on defense, and what they've added through the transfer portal. So I would have Notre Dame there, and I would probably have Texas and Indiana. And like Indiana, obviously wins the national championship, and they probably got the most losses of the contenders. They've got the Josh Hoover from TCU transferring in at quarterback, so we'll have another portal quarterback this year. But Cignetti has obviously shown that he could take it to the next level.
Well, look, they won the national championship. They can be number 1. That's fine by me. Number 1 until somebody knocks them off. And looking at their schedule, that's not going to happen anytime soon. They have yet again a garbage schedule. There's a lot of garbage Big Ten schedules, by the way. I don't know if you noticed this because you were traveling. Like all the Big Ten schools are putting out their schedules.
Yes,
recently.
I've noticed. Yes,
holy cow, man! Like Notre Dame's going to get a lot of crap for their schedule. Okay, fine, that's fine. But like, are you kidding with some of these Big Ten schedules? Like,
Vince, it's what I've been saying for the last year.
God.
Everyone acts like because. Oh, it's the Big Ten, and there are some good teams going to the playoff in the Big Ten. Well, they're not all playing each other.
Yeah, exactly.
Look at the schedules.
They're really not playing each other at all, is the thing. There's a lot of Rutgers on there, a lot of Maryland on people. Like it is unbelievable, some of these schedules. And not to mention the fact that all of their non-conference schedules are garbage as well, But, be that as it may. I'll keep IU at number 1. That's fine. They're the champs until somebody knocks them off. I think in no particular order, right, for a top 5, I think Notre Dame belongs in there. I think Oregon belongs in there. Texas will probably end up being up there because they're going to have a bunch of talent. What they end up doing with it, we'll see. You know what I mean? But I'm sure that they're going to be, up there as well. And Ohio State, I mean, they're always just reloading, so I have no problem having them in the top 5. It's going to be a top 5 minus maybe IU because they haven't been a preseason top 5 team in a long time. But it's going to be your typical, 5 to 7 teams all hovering around in that top 7 area, and you'll let the chips fall where they may. And since hardly any of them play each other, they're all going to stay up there. Yeah. So, it's fine.
That's exactly it. But everyone will criticize Notre Dame's schedule. Join a conference. You need to be in a conference. But...
There you go. Micah apparently is our resident IU fan. IU's the best team in the state of Indiana. Don't hate on IU because you can't beat us. Well, last time Notre Dame played IU, they did beat them. So just going to throw that out there. But they won the national championship. I just said that they're number 1. Who's hating on IU?
Yeah, no one here has hated on IU, but
whatever, it's fine.
Look at their schedule, especially their non-conference schedule. That's all we're saying.
Yeah.
So
that's all. We're going to hate on their schedule. Sorry. I will hate on
you
their
look
schedule.
at Indiana's schedule, you look at Notre Dame's schedule, the schedules are very comparable. But if you're an Indiana fan or basically a non-Notre Dame fan, you're going to rip Notre Dame's schedule because it's convenient for you. That's what it comes down to.
Right.
Because it's the lowest hanging fruit that you can find.
Right.
To say that Notre Dame's schedule doesn't stack up because they're independent. But again, look at anyone's schedule in the Big Ten. And you're not going to find very tough schedules. You're going to see a couple good teams on any given schedule. And other than that, it's all very average.
And, maybe, one of these days in the summertime or whatever, Sean, maybe we should sit down and compare Notre Dame schedule versus IU schedule. There's a lot of IU fans around, a lot of Notre Dame fans around. We could objectively compare the schedules.
Salty says there were 2 opponent quarterback excuses used against Notre Dame in last year's playoffs. Georgia did not have Carson Beck, and Penn State did have Drew Aller. It's a very good way to look at it, Salty. Oh, here we go. You literally have the easiest schedule this coming up season. Okay.
I got 3 teams for you. North Texas, Howard, and Western Kentucky. So that's your non-conference, my man. Like, you can't.
And you're going to try to use that against Notre Dame.
Come on.
Because,
Come on. And then you follow up that
hung up on that
3-way killer, trio with Northwestern, Rutgers, and Nebraska. Like, those are your first 6 games.
Right. I mean, I know Indiana has Ohio State. Who's the other good team? Do they play Michigan again this year?
They do play Michigan.
Who else do they have?
They have USC. And they do have Washington as well. They also have Minnesota, Purdue, Nebraska, Rutgers, Northwestern.
Yeah, but if we're going head-to-head, Indiana has 1 team that made it to the college football playoff this past season. Notre Dame has 1 team that made it to the college football playoff this past season. Notre Dame also has
the championship.
And BYU just missed the college football playoffs. So, like, that is actually, if you look at the meat of it, that's actually more than Indiana has on its schedule.
Correct.
So again, this doesn't have to be a Notre Dame versus
it doesn't.
Indiana.
Don't make it that way.
Indiana's schedule is not appreciably in any way harder than Notre Dame's schedule. But because you're an Indiana fan, you want to rip Notre Dame's schedule.
They're feeling themselves. That's fine. They won the national title. That's good. The most IU fans were not IU fans 2.5 years ago. That's all there is to it. They were basketball fans. They weren't football fans.
Let's take our only break of this hour, and then we'll come back and we will rip through some more of these questions in the mailbag. It is Mailbag Day, and it is Budweiser's Weekday Sportsbeat with IrishBreakdown.com. did my first started talking without hitting the unmute. Sean Stires, Vince DeDario, Budweiser's Weekday Sportsbeat with IrishBreakdown.com. Glad to have you with us here today. Hope you're staying warm outside. Speaking of which, it is Mailbag Day on the show, and we're answering plenty of questions from listeners. And Domer Grizz wants to know, go-to strategy for surviving the cold and snow. He says, I'm so over it. I think we're all over it at this point. And he also says, football related, the coldest game you've ever played or coached in. I don't know that I have a strategy. It is just bundle up as much as possible. That's pretty much it.
Yeah, stay inside, enjoy the streaming services and your family and make some homemade soup and stuff like that. Like that's how I'm at. I went to the movies yesterday. That kind of thing. It was me and 4 of my closest friends in the giant movie theater all by myself. So it was me and 2 couples that were easily of retirement age.
John says together. Drink beer. Budweiser would agree with that.
There you go.
Joe says whiskey. Mine is just coffee, as much coffee as possible every morning.
Yeah, I get that.
Coldest game you've ever played or coached in. I mean, we didn't have a ton of cold games, like back in high school days. Coached in a really cold baseball game a few years back. We played at Michigan City, and the wind was just blowing, and it must have been like 20 degrees wind.
We had a game at Michigan City very similar to that. Yeah. I actually have coached in more cold games when I coached baseball than I ever did coaching football.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, that means we didn't go very far in the tournament, football wise. And in baseball, you start early. You start in March, and so
we've broadcast some games in some pretty cold, like football games in some cold weather. I remember, like early in my career, there was one, with we didn't have. It was in Paola, Kansas, and which is in southeastern Kansas, and like blizzard outside, and there were no windows. It was like totally open air. So, they couldn't close windows or anything like that. There's just snow blowing in on us and the whole thing. And, there was one, where we were doing, when we were doing Mishawaka football a few years back, where you were doing the sideline, and you were very happy out there in New Prairie, very excited to be out there in the snow and your cold weather gear freezing your tail off.
Man, that one I will not forget. That's for sure. That was a very, 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 very cold one. But then New Prairie's press box is so small, there was no room for me up there anyway. So
that's exactly right. It was tight. Salty wants to know, with the next defensive backs coach, will he have the same breadth and scope of responsibilities, cornerback, safeties, pass game coordinator, that Mike Mickens had?
Depends on who they get. I mean, if they get somebody that has the resume that deserves all of that, then they'll get all of that. That remains to be seen. I understand that they're swinging for the fences and they're trying to get, a very accomplished defensive backs coach. And if that's the case, then he'll probably check all of those boxes. If they get somebody that, the resume doesn't stack up to that, then maybe they're not the pass game coordinator, or maybe they're, something along those lines. So it really just depends on who they bring in.
I mean, that's exactly it. And the fact that Chris Ash has experience coaching the safeties, depending on who they want. Now, from everything that we've heard, this is a very in-demand position. There are a lot of people who have reached out, in terms of having interest in this. So I think that they're going to be able to attract a very good hire and get a very good hire. And
I agree. There's a lot to like.
Yeah. And what is that? Rouse Productions, any update on the prospects? I mean, there's one name that Ryan, our old friend Ryan Roberts, reported on, an interesting one. His name is Jay Valai. This is one of the few actual names that I've seen reported so far. He does have a connection to Chris Ash. He is a coach, co-defensive coordinator and cornerbacks coach at Oklahoma, but he coached with Ash at both Rutgers and Texas.
Okay.
So there's at least been some interest there. I'll be curious to see if anything comes of it. Like the one thing he has on his name, in terms of title at Oklahoma, is co-defensive coordinator there. So I would doubt it if anyone is going to be, if they're going to be willing to give co-defensive coordinator title right off the bat, walking in the door.
I would be surprised if
if Mike Mickens didn't get it.
Exactly. I feel like that would almost be a slap in the face to Mike Mickens as he walks out the door. You know what I mean? Maybe it wouldn't be intended to be that way, and maybe that's what you would have to do to get a certain person that you want, to come. I don't know the answer to that, and it just, like I said, it just depends on who they're going after and what it looks like, and are they open to the possibility, and is there a negotiate, that kind of stuff. So they're going to get the best guy available, and it'll be great.
DJ asks if the producer of our show is named Ty, or is he just incredibly polite, putting thank you after each post. TY. His name is Ty. It's actually Ty McBride.
That's great.
So yes.
That's funny. I like that.
There it is. Oh, and it's actually irony. Yeah. Micah with a super chat earlier says the show is so much better without Ryan.
It's like Ryan's never been on the show.
I was going to say Ryan has never been on this show, and maybe
he forgot.
It's been a while since Micah. Micah just feeling himself a little bit, hasn't been around and literally just switched sides. Apparently, like one of the classic. Oh, I'm a Notre Dame fan. Now I'm an IU fan because they're winning, kind of thing. So
my guess is he left off the B for Ryan, but I could be wrong because there were some later posts.
Oh, okay.
That's my guess. But hey, whatever. He won't be playing our game for a little while.
Correct.
A little syrup with the pancakes.
Correct. Salty wants to know who the top 3 quarterbacks in college football will be this season.
Well, I think Dante Moore belongs in that discussion. I think CJ Carr belongs in that discussion. And to be honest with you, I think Arch Manning probably belongs in that discussion. Those would be the top 3 off the top of my head. Look, it's still January. A lot of things can change between now and October, November. See how they actually play.
Nobody was predicting Fernando Mendoza.
No. No. And I said
Josh Pate's list of the Big Ten quarterbacks. He wasn't even in the top 3 of Big Ten quarterbacks.
I said something along those lines a couple of days ago about Fernando Mendoza and how he kind of came out of nowhere. And everybody, oh, no, he was this, and this, and the transfer portal and blah, blah. No, he wasn't.
No, he was not.
No, he wasn't.
I'm sorry.
Look,
he was not.
All glory to him for what he was able to do and take the team where he took them and all that. But he was not that coming into IU. I'm sorry. He wasn't.
No. And it's just, just like everything else, I think, people are obviously Indiana ended up winning a national championship. And so everything that they've done, like, oh, they had this advantage, they had that advantage. Look, it's Indiana. They're the losingest program in college football history. They, they had money. Well, everyone's got money these days. Everyone's got someone as an NIL benefactor or, the rev share and everything else. And, look, they won a national championship. Nobody here is taking anything away from anything they did. One common thread that I think is interesting, Vince, because again, like everyone wants to use the fact that Indiana had all these, like the old Mike Bray formula, get old, stay old, that kind of stuff. Well, it's not just Indiana. If you look at these last 3 national champions, all from the Big Ten, they all had a lot of experience on their roster. Like that goes a long way. That's the common tie. It's not just Indiana that had a lot of 5th-year guys and seniors starting on their rosters. So did Ohio State. Look at the money that they shelled out to get those guys to stay around. It's like people kind of forget about that. Again, like when you're trying to hold the fact that Indiana had to shell out some money to get guys to transfer in. Well, Ohio State had to shell out a ton of money to get guys to stay. They won a national championship. Michigan had to spend a good deal of money. But again, they all had veterans, 5th-year guys and seniors.
Yeah.
None of them had freshmen. The only freshman of the last 3 national champions was Jeremiah Smith, and he's obviously one of the best wide receivers in the nation. That's the outlier. All 3 of those programs had a lot of veterans playing on their rosters. It wasn't just Indiana this past year.
Oh, absolutely. It is a flooring. It is a flooring stat to say that the average age of the entire IU football team is 23 years old.
Yeah,
because that means you have the equal amount of guys under that and an equal number of guys over that, which is kind of mind blowing considering you figure you graduate college at 22.
Yeah, and don't forget, a lot of those guys are guys who started their career at James Madison and some other group of 5 type programs. So it's not like, well, just get old. It's like those guys were very specific to what Cignetti wanted on his roster.
Right, absolutely. And they did a great job of assembling the right kind of roster. It's kind of like Miracle in 1980, right? And just go out and get the best players. They got the right players, and they performed very well as a team, and that's what IU did, and they won a national title.
DJ wants to know how much of the cornerback coach hire decision will be Chris Ash and how much will be Marcus Freeman?
Great question. I have no idea the answer to that, and anybody that tells you that they know the answer to that and their last name isn't Freeman or Ash is lying to you.
Correct.
So Freeman is going to have a big say in it. Ash will have a say in it. I also believe Pete Mavacqua will have a say in it. I think Mike Brown will have a say in it. I think there's going to be a lot of voices. At the end of the day, the only voice that matters, his last name is Freeman. So that's how I feel it will go.
No matter what, he's got to sign off on everything, and he's got to be absolutely comfortable because, as you pointed out, whoever you get, if you've got a guy who has coached cornerbacks well, for this year, he should be able to come in and have a very high level of success. But there's still the retaining of the roster, a lot of, obviously good young talent and the development of those guys, getting them ready to play. Because as we've seen every year these last few years, you're going to have someone step up off the bench and come in and play some pretty significant minutes at some point.
Yep.
And so it's not just that, but then going forward as well in the continued recruiting of the position. They have to be confident that whoever they get is going to be able to come in and recruit the talent to keep this thing going, to keep Notre Dame at that level. But you're absolutely right. It's like the head coach was a defensive coordinator. He's going to have some say, and he's going to have something specific that he's looking at. And, like Mike Mickens has still set a very high standard and a very high bar. So whoever they hire is going to have to be able to at least, come close to living up to that.
Yep.
Even though it's going to be very hard to look.
Oh, absolutely. I mean,
but they're going to have to think that he's going to be able
to
live up to that.
Yep.
Catfish Kelly's Dirty Plunger. How is the Irish family doing?
I mean,
I'm not sure what that's in relation.
Maybe that's like everybody that's in the chat. Hopefully everybody's doing well. I mean, it's a Wednesday in January in South Bend area. We're all cold. That's how we're doing.
Joe wants to know number one sports event that is on your bucket list.
I mean, I went to a national championship game, which obviously I would have loved for the other team to have won, but I was at the game. I mean, it says event. It doesn't say outcome. So I was at the game. You know what? Daytona. I would love to go to Daytona. I think that would be a blast. I've been to a couple of NASCAR races up in Michigan, and those are fun when my kid was into it way back when. It was fun. I had a really good time. I think it'd be fun to go down to Daytona for the big, the big spectacle and everything that is Daytona. I think that would be a lot of fun. I'd like to go to a Super Bowl maybe once just to say that I did it, but never again. You know what I mean? It'd be like one of those kinds.
I don't know if I want to shell out the money
I wouldn't
go to a Super Bowl.
Oh, I wouldn't pay
part
for
of the
it,
problem.
Sean. Come on now.
No, I mean that's it. Like, if someone was going to give me free Super Bowl tickets, then I'd put that probably at the top of my bucket list.
And honestly, Sean, if we're doing the Super Bowl, I want to do Radio Row for a week. Like that's what I would like to do. And then you get like all the stars that come through, and you can have them on your show and like all that kind of. They're all plugging stuff. Like give me Radio Row for a week. I don't even need to go to the game. I'd be good. You know what I mean?
There's a lot of good ones, and I'm not trying to brag, but like Craig says, World Series, and that was probably my top bucket list for a long time. And when the Royals went to the World Series in 2014, I was fortunate that it was played in Kansas City, and they were playing the Giants, so there wasn't a lot of demand like for the other fan base, because they're, it was kind of hard for San Francisco fan. But my buddy and I, we shelled out what I felt was a fairly reasonable amount of money. It was like $350 or something like that per ticket, and for World Series, we sat in the upper part of the stadium, but it was freaking awesome. I got to see the Royals play. It was when Giordano Ventura, you might remember he died in the off season, like back home, like in the Dominican Republic. He was actually killed in the Dominican Republic, but he won game 2 of the World Series. It was a great experience, so that was really cool. I would have to say, I'd like to go see a game at Fenway Park sometime. That's something Jesse and I have talked about for a long time, but we haven't been able to do. Like the older I get, the more I'm just not that into, the all the BS that comes with, a lot of the extra stuff.
No, you're not. I went to the Cubs World Series in Cleveland and with my father-in-law.
So right.
So I've got the World Series checked off. I've got national championship checked off, which is crazy. And so, it would just be like those offshoot type events that I would want to go to, you know what I mean? So,
right.
Someday the Masters would be fun to go to for a day. You know what I mean? I'm
not into golf enough. So like that doesn't.
Again, it's like a box check thing. I mean, the Masters would be fun, I guess.
Stymie says Notre Dame at Lambeau.
I mean, I plan on going, so we'll hopefully be able to check that off.
Yeah, well,
hopefully.
I think it's going to be a matter of how many credentials each.
Good point.
Each outlet gets. I mean,
you're WSBT for this one, buddy. So we gotta divide and conquer.
This is one that I keep forgetting to add to to rapid fire. Kevin wants to know where the Bears are going to end up. Do you think that there's any chance they really end up in Gary, Indiana?
Zero chance. I really do not. No,
I think this is all a leverage play by the Bears to get Chicago to
ante up,
to kick it into gear and figure it out.
I don't. That would be a horrible decision to take an NFL franchise to Gary, Indiana. Like clearly, not many people have been to Gary, Indiana, the home of Michael Jackson. But it's not a place where I would put an NFL franchise. I just wouldn't. So I don't think that's going to happen.
They've got the 3 different spots and the plans and all that different stuff. Like they're all fired up about it. And, the Indiana, the Senate passing this legislation for breaks and all this different stuff. I mean, crazier things have happened when you think about the fact that both the New York Jets and Giants play in New Jersey.
That's a good point. That's a very, very good point. I would just think that there are cities around the border of Illinois and Indiana that would be better off than Gary, I guess. I don't know. I don't know, man. I just don't see it. But I guess we'll see. And they won't be called the Gary Bears. They'd be called the Chicago Bears.
They'd still be the Chicago Bears. Just again, like the Jets and Giants are still the New York Jets and Giants. Right. So Double R 2.0 Super Bowl picks. I'm riding with the Seahawks. That defense is really good, and like we talked about last week, I think Sam Darnold is very underrated, and Jackson Smith and Jigba is the best wide receiver in the NFL, I think, right now.
I guess I don't know who I'll be rooting for, but I think the Seahawks are going to win. How about that? Everything I've seen of them play the last few weeks, they've been really, really good, really good. And I don't know that I think this is a train that you don't want to be on the tracks for.
Joe says the Chiefs are moving to Kansas, and it's like, it's still a little different because they're the Kansas City Chiefs. And even though they've been in Missouri forever on the Kansas City side, I mean, Joe is from Omaha, so I mean, he knows the geography, and, it's still like where they're moving. It's still Kansas City. It's just on the Missouri side instead of the Kansas side. Now the headquarters are going to be, in another part of the city, but it's all still,
it's all
greater
part of the
metropolitan Kansas City. Yeah.
See, you would have to explain that to me because I wouldn't have known that that's how it worked. But that actually makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Irish for Life says South Bend Bears. He likes the sound of that.
I mean,
just
okay. There's already a South Bend Bears. It's that used to be the high school in South Bend.
Right. So there used to be a South Bend Bears.
Well, there still is. They have a lacrosse team now.
Oh, do they?
Lacrosse is an IHSAA, so it's a club team, and they pull from all of the local schools, and it's the South Bend Bears lacrosse team.
I didn't even realize that.
There you go. Their home field is School Field.
Huh.
Yep. The more you know.
You just learned me. What are St. Joe are the
they're not the Indians anymore.
Right.
They are why all of a sudden my name
I know. It's escaping me too.
Why should still be the Indians. How about that? The Huskies.
Huskies. There you go. I knew it was an animal. I couldn't think of it though.
Yes, they should still be the Indians.
Thank you, producer Ty.
They're the Huskies.
The Huskies.
Yes. It's still weird to say that.
It is. And I think it shows even how more weird it is. I don't think that we've broadcast anything since they switched mascots. No. I think they were still the Indians.
They were
a few years back when we were still broadcasting Mishawaka games.
They were trying to get away from it as much as possible, but they were still the Indians when we were broadcasting stuff. So yeah, I haven't actually said those words like in a professional capacity. Yeah.
All right, that's it for the mailbag portion of the show. There are still some questions in there we might be able to slip in at the end of rapid fire, just depending on how much time we've got. So we will take a break for the top of the hour, and we've got more Budweiser's Weekday Sports Beat coming up in hour number 2 with rapid fire. That's around the corner with Vince DeDario. I'm Sean Stires, Budweiser's Weekday Sports Beat with IrishBreakdown.com. Hour number 2 of the show is here. Budweiser's Weekday Sports Beat with IrishBreakdown.com. I do have to say, Vince, as someone who doesn't normally sit on this side, where you are right now, remotely anymore, since I'm typically in the studio. And for those just joining us, I'm in my hotel room with Notre Dame women's basketball in Berkeley, California right now, looking out at much more sunshine than we probably have back home in South Bend right now, and definitely less snow. It is a little jarring when you're sitting here and you kind of get lulled to sleep, and then all of a sudden, boom, that commercial break card goes away on the screen, and we're back.
Well, and I've got ADHD to the max, and so I start going on different tabs, and I'm doing different things. And when you're in the studio and it's you and me, it's great because I can hear like the very tail end of the bumper. Like kind of
when I unmute and turn my mic on, and
so that tells me it's time to start rolling here. When you're not here, when it's me, leading, first of all, because then I have to speak first. But when there's nobody in the studio to have that, like it's abrupt. Like it is abrupt.
It's very. I was kind of staring off into space, and all of a sudden it went away, and I'm like, oh yeah, that means I'm gonna talk.
Yeah, there's been times where I'm like, I wonder how long the card's been gone, and we've just been sitting here in silence because I haven't said anything yet. So, yeah.
So we did mailbag, of course, in the first hour of the show. It's rapid fire time. I said that we would try to get to some questions that we hadn't got to at the end of rapid fire if there was time. But Salty says, I'd better get to a lot more questions. Your read neglect ratio is, shall we say, not good. I'm just going to blame this on Vince because Vince is the one who stars up the questions. So I know what I need to get to. I talk and then Vince is the one who stars them up when we do this show together. So I'm blaming Vince for this.
I'll take it. I mean, I'm used to getting the blame, and 5 shows a week is a lot for me. So I don't know if I can.
I've noticed there are a lot of, there are at least a few pop culture type things that Salty put in there. And I do try to address, obviously, the Notre Dame football/basketball questions first before we get to that kind of stuff. So if that's hopefully maybe what you're referring to, Salty, there are some of those start up, but we'll get to them. Like I said, we'll get to whatever we can here in a little bit. Once again, just one break in this hour. It's kind of a weird log today. So we consolidated and tried to keep the show as free-flowing as possible today with the way that we set it up with the help of producer Ty back in the studio today. So here's my first question for you. After seeing Curt Cignetti in Indiana win the national championship last week, is it really just last week?
It was. I mean, a week and a half. But yeah, I mean, it's Wednesday. It was on a Monday. Week. So, yeah.
Is there anything that Marcus Freeman can learn from Cignetti?
I've been thinking about this one for a little while, and I don't want this to come off as I don't want this to come off in a negative way. Notre Dame and IU do things completely differently. They just do. And
true. Very true.
The ends, obviously, they both want to win a national championship. So the ends are the same, but the means are different. And so the way Notre Dame operates and the way IU operates, there's nothing that I can think of that I would want Marcus Freeman to do that Curt Cignetti is doing, because I don't think that's the roadmap for Notre Dame specifically. Does that make sense?
No, I mean, I understand what you're saying.
So that's where I'm at. I mean, look, talent evaluation, obviously, in the transfer portal is really, 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 really good. So maybe a little bit of that would be nice. But I think they'd had a really good portal class this year. So I'm not upset with Notre Dame's portal class. I would like that. I'll say that. I'll say talent evaluator in the portal class.
Okay. And I understand what you're saying. I think the biggest thing that Marcus Freeman could draw on as someone who was just in the national championship game and he's still just a year removed from it. So it's not like, there's all these big lessons that he's got to learn to move the program forward. I think it's littler things. And that's kind of what I think that he can replicate is the details, the smallest detail. And really, I think any other program, Cignetti obviously has taken it to another level, but Indiana just doesn't beat themselves. They have to be the most fundamentally sound team in the country. And there are a lot of other programs who I think you could say does that, and that's where like the differentiator for Cignetti is obviously the ability to take all these guys who weren't the most highly recruited and to put all this together and turn around and turn it into a team that's only lost a couple games in the last years. But, like they've got the best turnover ratio in the nation because, so they don't beat themselves. It starts with the focus, obviously, on taking care of the ball on offense and turning the ball over on defense. But like, look specifically at the lines of scrimmage. Marcus Freeman always talks about we want to be an offensive line, defensive line driven program. And they are, but so is Indiana. And again, that hyper focus on the fundamentals and the details, I think like that is something that Marcus Freeman and his staff can look at, and be able to replicate to, because again, like we're talking about, like the old, it's a game of inches, that kind of thing. It's a game of like the littlest things matter because Notre Dame, the talent on Notre Dame's roster, I do think is greater than the talent on Indiana's roster. And we obviously didn't get to see them play each other this year. So we never really, will fully know exactly what that would have looked like. But, like when you're talking about offensive line play, the footwork, the balance that IU's guys have, the fact that, again, like you don't see them with a lot of false starts and those kind of things, like those kind of mental mistakes. And then, like you look at the way their defensive line play, like the way they get off blocks and those kind of things. And again, it's like things that Notre Dame does pretty well, but it just feels like those little details, I think we can all agree that like Notre Dame's offensive line, as talented as it is, there's still another level for it to go to. And it feels to me like these kind of things are things that Notre Dame could easily look at things that Indiana is doing and just hyper focus on those little things. I think could go a long way for Notre Dame.
Sure. And somebody in the chat made a really good point. It's like Curt Cignetti's been a head coach for a really, really long time.
Right.
And
there's a big difference there, Yeah.
So, I mean, that's part of it. It's experience. It's, being around the game and doing all the things that you need to do to be a good head coach,
look, let's be honest. If you combined Brian Kelly's experience and all of that experience that he banked up, all of those decisions that he's had to make for 3 decades, and you combine that, and his ability to develop players, and you combine that with Marcus Freeman's personality, which also couples with his ability to recruit and all those different things, like that would be like the perfect textbook head coach, right? But those are things that Marcus Freeman still has to learn as he goes. There's no substitute for that experience that guys like Brian Kelly and Curt Cignetti have. And that's part of why Marcus Freeman can make up for a lot of that with the fact that he is such a better recruiter. He does have a better culture in his program, than a guy like Brian Kelly. So that, that goes a long way as well. But again, it's just, I think it's a matter of like, there are just some little things that I think that they could do that elevates and puts them in a position to win a national championship in 2026.
I dig it.
There were actually, speaking of Salty, I'll go ahead and see if I can. I think he had like a
giving in,
maybe a Cignetti. Well, I think it kind of goes with, like he wants to know if Indiana will make the playoffs again this season.
Based on their schedule, yeah, probably. I mean, unless they really stub their toe in games that they should win, they will be still one of the better Big Ten teams, and the better Big Ten teams are going to get in. So I think they do get in. Yes.
No, I think that they will as well. Like, do we know that much about the TCU quarterback that he's bringing in? Well, we know that he's got experience, and he's already brought in 2 transfer portal quarterbacks in the last 2 years, and he's 2 for 2 making it to the playoffs. So I wouldn't bet against him at this point.
I mean, look, we can, like, if you want to analyze their schedule, they're going to be 6-0 before they face off against Ohio State. Okay. They've got Ohio State and Michigan back-to-back. That's not going to be an easy stretch, but they also have a bye in between Ohio State and Michigan. That's where their bye is. I think IU's a better team than Michigan. I think they win that game. That's 7. I think Minnesota, they'll beat them. That's 8. Purdue, that's 9. And then you've got USC, Washington, and Ohio State. Does anybody think they're going to go 0-3 against those teams? I do not. So they probably win 2 out of the 3. And however you want to do it, that makes them a 1-loss team. And even if they're a 2-loss team, I still think that they probably get in. So yes, they're in.
Absolutely. But if you ask some people, Indiana has head and shoulders the tougher schedule. Speaking of schedules, fill in the blank. Southern Cal replacing Notre Dame on its non-conference schedule with Louisiana, not Louisiana State.
I was going to say
Louisiana Ragin' Cajuns.
The Ragin' Cajuns
is blank.
So I did want to double check that you weren't missing words after Louisiana. It's just Louisiana, right?
Louisiana. That's okay. Right.
I think it is. Let's see. What is my blank going to be? Very predictable because we knew that they were going to drop Notre Dame and pick up a pansy. And that's exactly what they did. No offense to the Ragin' Cajuns down there in Bayou country, but come on. Like, is anybody surprised by this? And it's probably a home game, obviously. They're not going to go down.
Oh, it's a home game.
To the Bayou. So, yeah, that's not
I'm sure there's going to be a lot of interest in Los Angeles for Louisiana, the Ragin' Cajuns coming to town. Will that stadium even be 80% capacity? No, my guess is no.
Less than 50, most likely. And, that's right along the lines of IU scheduling the Howard Bison as one of their games. So, Ragin' Cajuns, the Bison, whatever.
But again, Vince, they're all in the Big Ten. USC is in the Big Ten. Yes, Indiana's in the Big Ten. Like all these, Penn State is in the Big Ten, and we keep the Big Ten is the only one of the 4 Power 4 conferences that are not requiring their teams to play that 10th game against a Power 4 opponent in non-conference play.
There are very few teams.
Look, more power to them. Like they're getting all these playoff bids, and that's what they want. But don't tell me that those schedules are more difficult than Notre Dame's or anyone else's when that's what you're going to do. We talked about BYU and Texas Tech last week. Just because you're in a conference doesn't mean that you're playing some gauntlet every week.
Exactly correct.
It just doesn't.
Exactly. And look, I was making fun of IU's schedule. I mean, you pull up Penn State's schedule, for example, and it's way worse. Like way worse.
Yeah. And by the way, it's going to be really curious, it's going to be really interesting to see if Matt Campbell going to Penn State, because he's basically done what Cignetti did. He's brought, 20 or 30 guys from Iowa State with him to Penn State. And those are obviously Power 4 bodies already. Unlike Cignetti, who, like I was saying earlier, brought group of 5 type bodies with him to Indiana, and Penn State is still just a year removed from playing in the national semifinals. So how quickly will Matt Campbell be able to turn things around at Penn State, especially considering he's playing that kind of schedule?
With this schedule, I would say instantly. I mean, they play 8 games in Happy Valley. 8. And they go to the juggernaut. Their away games are in Evanston, Illinois against Northwestern. They have to go to Washington, they
host USC.
Yes, that is correct. And they go to College Park, Maryland to play Maryland and Ann Arbor. So they go to Ann Arbor and Washington. So those are 2 tough games on the road. But then they go to Evanston and College Park. Every other game they have is at home.
Right.
Every single one.
Yeah. It's not a whole lot different than last year's schedule, really. And obviously that led to the fact that Campbell is even there. But, I guess I didn't even answer the USC question. I mean, they've definitely set a new standard for themselves by scheduling Louisiana. I mean, we knew this was going to happen. We knew they were going to dumb down the schedule. There will probably be some USC trolls who'll jump in at some point and tell us, for the 2 millionth time, why it's Notre Dame's fault that they're not playing this. Fine. We're past that. Yeah. They actually do. I will give them this. They do, of the teams that we're talking about, USC, they're playing Oregon, Ohio State, and Indiana. the 3 Big Ten teams that went to the college football playoff this year. But, and along with Penn State. But they stopped playing Notre Dame because it made their path to the playoff too tough for them. We know that. And now they won't play Notre Dame, and they still won't make it to the playoffs. So,
and they still
good
have
luck. Great trade-off.
Hey, the best part about this whole thing is they still have a game to schedule. So that's going to be some Sisters of the Northwest Louisiana Territory or something like that. Like,
well, why did they announce their schedule if they still haven't even got everybody scheduled yet?
I'm looking at the FB schedules or whatever, and I believe they only have the 2 non-conference games right now of Fresno State and Louisiana. I didn't look at USC's specific.
Yeah, I guess that would be right because they're playing a 9-game conference schedule, so they would have to still find somebody else. That's right.
Let's see if they've got it on their actual schedule. Yeah, it says TBD. So they still got one more. There's still some air in the tire here that we're going to be able to make fun of USC. Don't worry.
That's always there. That's always there.
Yeah, that's right.
Yep. But, yeah, I mean, they're going to have the same result, but Lincoln Riley won't have Notre Dame to blame for it. They're going to miss the playoff either way.
Again.
So with or without Notre Dame. Yep. Notre Dame's 2026 schedule is set. If Indiana would do it, it's funny that Indiana has come up so much in today's show because I had this question, before any of it came up. If Indiana would do it, would you want to see Notre Dame add them to the 2027 schedule?
100%. Absolutely. But it'll never happen. I'm sitting here, to be honest with you, not convinced because I know that Notre Dame and IU have a game coming up, correct? They have a home-and-home series, I believe, on the books at some point, right?
They do. It's in the 2030s. I can't remember the
exact what it is? Okay.
Off the top of my head. I want to say early 2030s.
Okay, here it is, 30 and 31.
There you go.
If Kirk Cignetti is still the coach, I'm like 50-50 that they're not going to try to buy out of that game, to be honest with you. You know,
especially if Notre Dame gets to the playoffs and has a significant playoff run like they did last year.
Yeah, I would not be surprised if IU tries to buy out of that. Now, with that said, I would love for Notre Dame to play IU. I would love it. I think let's get that on the schedule. Like, I am all for a Notre Dame IU series. Like, let's get this thing going. I just don't think that IU is going to be up for it.
I don't think that they would as well. And that's, the real irony of all this for anyone who wants to take shots at Notre Dame's schedule. Notre Dame is willing to go out and schedule these teams. And like, if you look at future schedules, they've got plenty of good teams in the future. But, I was kind of surprised when I looked at the 27s because we were talking about, scheduling and stuff like that the other day. And I thought that you said that like all these schedules are full. Like Notre Dame, as of right now, only has 9 games scheduled for 2027. So there are still 3 openings on there. I went through and I double checked. According to what's on there, they've got 2 Big Ten teams, Michigan State and Purdue. Then they've got Clemson, Georgia Tech, Wake Forest, and Virginia Tech. And then they've got Auburn, BYU, and Navy. So, I mean, there's still who knows what Auburn's going to be, who really knows what Clemson's going to be. Like, there's still room to, put something potentially with more teeth on there if they wanted to. And I would love to see it happen. But I agree with you. I don't think there's any way that Indiana would agree to this because they want the easiest path to get to the playoffs as possible.
Well, and IU already does have a full schedule in 27, and I don't think they're going to replace Notre Dame with Kennesaw State, Indiana State, or UMass. So
Murderers Row.
Yeah.
Murderers Row.
Yeah. So those are their 3 non-conference games in 27. So, yeah.
See, Irish for Life says, and other people have said it as well, that they don't think that Cignetti will be there by 2030. Like,
was he going to retire?
Where's he going to go? Like, do you think he would leave Indiana for Alabama? He came out and said he's not an NFL guy. So where would he go at this point after you've already won a national championship at Indiana? They're giving him all the money that he wants. He's already in his 60s. It's not like he's a spring chicken. Like, where do you need to go at this point if you're Kurt Cignetti? Where would you leave? Irish for Life says you think he retires? I don't think so. I think he's going to be around for a while. Personally,
the funny part is IU has their 3 non-conference games all sewn up through 2030. They got them all 3 of them. So
and they're all as creamy and puffy as possible.
So I already read you the 27. So in 28, they play Austin P, Eastern Michigan, and Miami of Ohio. I'll give them credit for Miami of Ohio. They're usually pretty decent. 29, they play Ball State, Eastern Illinois, which is a 1AA team, and Western Kentucky.
Or FCS.
Sorry.
Since it's 2025.
Yeah, it's 2026, even worse.
It's touche.
And then in 2030, they play Notre Dame, Indiana State, and Delaware. So they've got their first 3 games all sewn up all the way through 2030. They want to make sure they got the cream puff lineup ready to roll. That's why I'm saying one of these things is not like the other. Like I just read you 9 to 12 different teams that they're going to play over the next 4 or 5 years. One of these things is not like the other. It's Notre Dame.
I'd like to know what that contract reads.
Me too.
What it would take to get out of that.
Me too. Yes.
Because they've got 5 years to work on it. I just don't see them, especially if Signetti is still around. I don't see them honoring it.
I don't either.
Get out of it. I think they want out of it.
It'd be some bad PR, man, if they get out of that game. Like but I don't think they care. I don't think they bought out of those other games, right? With Louisville and whoever else it was. Like they had no problem doing that.
Because it's been at least 5 years, I think, 4 or 5 years since they signed this. So it was pre-Signetti.
Pre-Signetti, I'm sure, yeah.
How badly does Indiana want Notre Dame at IU at Memorial Field?
Right.
Down there.
Yeah. And that's in 2031. So they come to Notre Dame first, and then Notre Dame goes there second.
Which is actually perfect, because if they really want Notre Dame down there, then they can't get out of 2030.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a really good point.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I would make that buyout real big if I was Notre Dame, but we'll see.
We're going to take our only break of this hour and then back to wrap up Rapid Fire. Someone asked in the Champions Lounge earlier if we can give the times of the breaks when we go into them for the YouTube purposes.
Like let them know when we're coming back, basically.
Yeah, it's like it's a lot to keep track of because all of our breaks are different every day. Typically we try to keep them between 3 and 4. It's a little bit longer today because of the fact that in general our log was so light, so we combined some things so we could take fewer breaks today. So no matter what, we will be back after we take this time out. Rapid Fire will continue with Vince DeDario. I'm Sean Stires, Budweiser's Weekday Sportsbeat with IrishBreakdown.com. I guess we're back, but we just did the same thing. I spaced out again. Budweiser's Weekday Sportsbeat with IrishBreakdown.com. How long has the screen been open? I don't even know.
Only Ty would know the answer to that because I was on another tab, so I have no idea.
I was sitting here doing the same thing. Hot camera, fellas. Hot camera.
So it's been a minute. It's been a bit.
Okay. Yep. Just spacing out.
25 seconds.
25. Well, that's not too long. In radio time, that actually is an eternity.
That's going to say that's an eternity.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
We're continuing rapid fire on Budweiser's Weekday Sportsbeat with IrishBreakdown.com. I'm Sean Stires, sitting in my hotel room in Berkeley, California. Nice. Notre Dame women's basketball Thursday night, 10 o'clock Eastern time on the Notre Dame Radio Network here in Sports Radio.
Hopefully you'll be all dialed into the time change by then. And
I know.
Like 10 o'clock.
I woke up this morning at like 5, slept for a little bit, and then woke up at 6, and I watched the Fernando Valenzuela 30 for 30 this morning. I was basically waiting for the sun to come out so I could go out and walk around outside. I didn't want to walk around in the dark in a city I've never been to.
No, that's fair. Driving by, I was like, this isn't the best part of town. At least it didn't feel that way as I was driving by. I could be wrong once you get into there, but not someplace I would recommend driving around or walking around in the dark.
Yeah. Ken, speaking of which, asked favorite ACC campus to visit to cover women's basketball. Campus-wise,
I like this question.
My favorite is actually Miami, I would say. The hotel we stay at, kind of similar to here, like just right across the street from campus. It's a really nice campus, and obviously the weather is nice. We were there in February last year, and I walked all over campus, walked right into the baseball stadium and stuff like that. And there's they have an outdoor swimming pool. Not that I was going to swim, but it's a really nice campus.
Pool is outside. Yeah.
So I would say Miami is probably it.
Nice.
We're talking a second ago about the whole Indiana thing, and Salty said the game was scheduled when Indiana stunk, so the buyout provision is probably not very large at all. I mean,
true, actually.
Could go one, you could look at that in a couple of different ways. Either it's not very big, or, if Notre Dame really wanted to make sure, it's probably a good point, because back when it was scheduled, there was no reason to believe that Indiana would want to try to back.
Because they want the money. They want the money of Notre Dame coming to their stadium, right? I mean, that's what it would be. And so it was a complete money grab for IU. Because when Notre Dame scheduled IU, it was like scheduling a MAC team. And I apologize to anybody out there that takes offense to that, but it is a fact that IU was the worst college football team of all time until the middle of this year, numbers-wise. So that's why they were scheduled.
Yeah, I mean, when the game was scheduled, it was oh, kind of cool. Notre Dame and Indiana haven't played in forever. It'll be cool to see them play. There was nothing like, oh, these are two really good teams that are going to play against each other, because again, it was at least 4, if not 5 years ago, this thing.
I'm trying to look to see if I can find that quickly as to when that was announced. April of 2021.
There you go. 5 years ago, going on 5 years.
Yeah. And so that was an announcement that was 9 years away from happening. You know what I mean? So that was well in advance. And again, that was when IU wasn't any good.
Yep.
Just is what it is, So I definitely do not think that I think that series is not going to happen. That's where I'm at right now.
I'm leaning in that direction as well.
As we sit here,
I'd be surprised just the way Indiana has approached its scheduling. Yes. I think they're going to approach it very much the same way USC did. Why would you even want to bother with it when you don't have to? So this whole Bill Belichick thing, Vince, it has dominated. I'm sitting here in a hotel room, and you're trying to watch sports, and that's all the shows have been about. Bill Belichick getting snubbed by the Hall of Fame. I don't even know what to add to it at this point. Is he the greatest head coach in NFL history? Yeah. I think we're all shocked that he was snubbed, but I guess the other side of this is just point blank. He did some shady things, and so it feels like maybe this is at least part of the equation. he's being punished for, so I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, the original question was like
the most shocking thing since what?
Since he took the North Carolina job was what I was going to answer.
Yeah.
Like that was going to be my answer.
Good one. But I mean, think of all the shocking things that have happened. Notre Dame gets snubbed by the playoffs.
Sure.
Well, that was a major shocker to just about everybody. The fact that they vaulted, and like since then, Mike Tomlin has stepped down from the Pittsburgh Steelers. Jim Harbaugh and Sean McDermott have both been fired. Been a lot of shocking things that have happened just in the last month.
Yeah, I was. It wasn't on my radar, obviously, as something that was going to take place. I think it is the voters' way of quote unquote, punishing him for some of the shady stuff that went on, right? And also, like, okay, enlighten me. Who votes on this? Is it?
There are a lot of media people. On it.
There you go.
There are some former coaches like Bill Polian, former Colts president, is on there, and I don't know how much you followed with the Polian stuff. That first someone was saying that Polian was sort of leading this charge, like the anti-Belichick, and Polian is denying it. Other people are denying it, but Polian is also now saying, "Oh, I don't remember what I said." He said 2 or 3 different things. Oh, I don't remember what I said. Well, if that's the case, you're 83 and you don't belong in that room to begin with.
Right.
But like Sal Paolantonio had probably the best explanation, because this kind of thing does happen. Like, he was someone who was in the room and he didn't want to say what's going on, because for whatever reason, they're not supposed to say the things that are being said in the room. But, what he said was like, there were probably some people, like, you could only vote for, I think it was like three guys.
Okay.
And so there were probably a lot of people who were going, well, Belichick's going to make it. Of course he's going to make it. So I'm going to vote for my guy who I really want to see get in.
And there's a lot of limited time
get the votes. On the ballot. So like he said, he thinks, a lot of that stuff.
It's no secret that the media wasn't a big fan of Bill Belichick either. And the media can be petty. Mm-hmm. I mean, do you disagree with that? I mean, we see it in baseball all the time. Like they're real petty when it comes to putting guys in the Hall of Fame. So I could see that being part of it. There's enough media out there to prevent him from getting in on the first ballot. And I know maybe it's not as much in football as it is in baseball, but like, it is a coat of armor to be like a first ballot Hall of Famer, in baseball. Yeah. And there are plenty of media people out there that will prevent guys from being a first ballot Hall of Famer. They'll get in on the second ballot, but they won't let them in on the first because they don't want them to have that claim that they're a first ballot Hall of Famer. You know what I mean? Like,
and to me, all this is doing is, okay, Belichick's got to wait a year. All this, to me, I think he's a lock to get in now next year.
Yeah, exactly. Could not agree more with that. He's going to get in.
Yeah, because of all this uproar, a year from now, I think he's going to get in.
Agreed. Agreed.
Like, there are worse things that could happen than Bill Belichick not getting in. But do I think he deserves to be in? Absolutely. But I think everybody was shocked.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I am.
Salty, getting back to some of these mailbag questions, says, is it really the case that nobody seems to have known about the Notre Dame memorandum of understanding that had been collectively agreed upon over a year ago? It's actually going on 2 years.
Yeah, they knew.
They
just chose not to talk about it then when it didn't suit their narrative. Now it does, and so now everybody's talking about it. That's where I'm at. They knew.
I think most people, the conference commissioners definitely knew.
Yes.
And it seems like they had passed this information along to their athletic directors. Now, I wouldn't be shocked if all the coaches didn't know about it, and if maybe an athletic director or two, might not have known about it, especially ones who, came in after this was voted on and all that different kind of stuff. But it's really, I think, a vocal minority that we're hearing from in terms of the people who are shocked. And it's mostly media, to be quite honest. Like, most people in the media, like, unless you were, a Ross Dellinger or some of these other reporters who are in, Heather Dinich, in on the finer points of this whole thing, then yeah, I think that some of it probably slipped by you, especially considering it was done 2 years ago. So I think it's mostly them. But athletic directors and the like, I think the majority of them knew about it. You're just not hearing from the ones who didn't know about it, because it's not like they're going to step up and stick up for Notre Dame.
Well, 100% there. I think it's disingenuous of some of the media, and I can't remember exactly who it was that like reported on it 2 years ago, and then now we're saying like, oh, we had no idea this is a new, like, that's very disingenuous and out there for clicks. I have a problem with that. Like, at least come out and say, hey man, we talked about this a year and a half ago. You know what I mean? Like this was always a thing. Just be honest about it.
Well, and again, we talked about this a couple of days ago, but what is not discussed at all is why this clause for Notre Dame was there. And it's because of the fact that the SEC and the Big Ten, basically, they've got control of the whole process. And they were throwing their weight around when they were negotiating all these different formats and you know, how the whole thing was going to work. And they were threatening to pull out and do their own thing together if they weren't guaranteed potentially extra automatic bids in whatever the format ended up being. And so Notre Dame seeing this, saying, well, if the SEC and the Big Ten, because you remember, like, there were all these different formats that were being thrown around where, like, the Big Ten and the SEC were each going to get at least 2 spots, or, you know, if not 3 and 4, you know, again, depending on what the size of the field looked like. And so Notre Dame said, well, if you're going to get these guaranteed spots and there are only so many spots available, we want to guarantee that if we are ranked in the top 12, we are going to automatically get a spot, because they were only going to be like, you know, 1 or 2 or, you know, like 2 or 3 at-large spots left over at the end. So Notre Dame said, well, if the Big Ten and the SEC are going to be guaranteed these spots, we want to make sure we're not going to be left out. So that's why the memorandum of understanding was written this way, to make sure that Notre Dame wouldn't be left out if these conferences were going to get their extra bids. Now, obviously, that didn't end up happening, but Notre Dame still got this spot, and that's what everyone is reacting to. But again, you haven't heard Greg Sankey or Tony Petitti come out and say, you know, look, everybody needs to relax, because they're trying to manage their own fiefdoms and make sure that their constituents are taken care of, and they're not going to stick up for Notre Dame. But that's why this whole thing came about, because Notre Dame was protecting itself, just like everybody else was protecting themselves, the other conferences as well, from making sure that the Big Ten and the SEC weren't just going to get all these spots, and then everybody else was going to be left at the altar.
And again, there's nothing that's going to cause the committee not to move Notre Dame to spot number 13 if they really want to keep them out. And then the MOU, means nothing, because they can just move teams around willy-nilly, just like they did in the last ranking. So I don't even know how this even really helps Notre Dame, to be perfectly honest with you. It's just something that people can pick on. That's where I'm at.
Right, because the only way this helps Notre Dame is if they are sitting in a spot like they were sitting this year.
Right.
Where, you know, which basically means they've got at least 2 losses, and they're in that tail end of the like 9 to 12 range. But if they're in that 9 to 12 range, as people have pointed out before, and I know we have those, well, like, what's to keep the committee from just saying, well, you're ranked 13th.
Exactly.
Like, so you're not guaranteed a spot.
I feel like that's exactly what would have happened this year.
Yeah.
Because they didn't want Notre Dame in. They didn't want them in for whatever reason.
And knowing that Notre Dame clause was there, they probably would have had them rank lower to begin with.
Yeah, exactly correct.
And there wouldn't have been, you know, the same kind of fallout. Yeah. So really, it's just much ado about Notre Dame.
It really is.
I think when it comes down to it. Salty wants to know, what movie had the best sequel? I mean, this is obviously Top Gun Maverick.
Yeah.
Like, there's really,
I can't disagree with you on that.
There's not the bar is not really high. You know, like, I think you can probably make a case for like Lethal Weapon 2, Beverly Hills Cop 2. I don't think Die Hard 2 is as good as Die Hard, but like, those are all, I think, in the conversation. Maybe you can say like the Godfather heads might say Godfather 2 is better than Godfather, but I think it's Top Gun Maverick to me.
I think that's a great choice, and I'm not even going to touch it because I love it.
What movie had the worst sequel?
Gosh. Oh.
I think I would go another 48 hours. Like 48 hours, then another another 48 hours. Not a good sequel.
Trying to think.
But there have also been, like Fletch 2 was historically bad. Caddyshack 2 was really bad. Grease 2 was really bad.
Grease 2 was terrible. Yeah. Grease 2 was terrible.
Oh, this is I forgot about Terminator 2. Terminator 2 definitely better, Salty. Good call there. Better than the first one. Yes, we are Top Gun geeks, and that's why Top Gun Maverick is the best sequel.
Sorry, it was really good. I like Maverick better than the original.
Dude, I've got it recorded on my DVR, and I go back and I've watched it probably in the ballpark of 10 times at this point. And the movie's not that old.
Yeah, no, 100%. I'm with you. I would, if given the option, I'm watching Maverick over Top Gun. Like that's where I'm at.
Bernie says he loved Grease 2. Bernie, you're giving yourself away now. You just makes all your other takes that much harder to take.
That's fantastic.
Irish for Life says Empire Strikes Back. It's been a long time, but it was a good one. Personally, I don't hold it in quite as high esteem. Salty also has. He says, who is the best female actor who have portrayed a comic book character? You're going to have to take this because I'm not in on the comic book stuff.
No idea. Let's see here. How about Gal Gadot, Wonder Woman?
Wonder Woman?
That legit. She was legit in that one. Michelle Pfeiffer as Catwoman back in the Batman days.
Good one.
Those are the ones that come to my first ones that come to my head.
Male actor? I'll just go Robert Downey Jr. Iron Man. One of the few that I've seen.
Captain America. I can't remember his name, but I love Captain America. I'm a big fan of Captain America. Help me out. Not the original Batman. The Batman from the 90s.
Michael Keaton.
I got a lot of flack for taking that role, but I think he might have been the best one.
That's a good one.
Chris Evans. Thank you. Chris Evans.
There's a lot of people who've gotten flack for playing Batman.
This is true.
What movie would you like to have a sequel? This is tough.
That is really hard.
I love The Town, and there's not been a Town sequel. I think there's a lot you could do with that because, with the exception of Jem, all the main characters are still alive. John Hamm, the FBI, is still out there. Ben Affleck, is supposedly going to Florida, and the girlfriend was still alive. I think there's a lot you could do with The Town. And maybe Blake Lively, for that matter, her character was still alive, and now her daughter's older, so maybe she comes into the mix. I think there's a lot you could do there.
I can't think of anything that movies that I just absolutely love because okay, for an example, one of my favorite movies is The Patriot, and you can't really do a sequel to The Patriot. It was about the Revolutionary War. It was over.
Right.
You can't. It
only goes so far.
Correct. So I like a lot of war movies, things like that. You can't really do sequels to war movies. And so I'm out on those off the top of my head anyway. I can't think of the last time I sat in
Chi-Town says Rocky. Yeah, we need another sequel.
Seriously, there's 12. There's a lot.
I know. The question is, are they going to find, a spin-off for Creed now at this point after they've done 3 Creeds?
Creed is a spin-off of that's a lot going on there.
See, Creed has gone to me, I know you have nothing to compare it to. You never watched the Rockies, but the Rockies at least got more entertaining, up into Rocky 3 and 4, a lot higher entertainment value.
Okay.
The first, 2 was excruciatingly slow. Even the first one, somewhat slow, but a great story. It won an Academy Award. But the Creeds, they each got a little bit worse each time because they really, like if you watched them, they tried to go back and borrow from the Rocky formula and storylines and that kind of stuff.
I gotta pull this up.
We got to get out here. We got to get out here
right,
quick.
I'm out.
So
sorry, Irish. I like your comment though.
what did he say?
He just said
prequel of the Patriot. I like that
because he talked about the French and Indian War. You could do a movie on that. I'd watch it.
All right, we're gonna wrap it up with that. Vince, you and Jesse will be here tomorrow. I'll be doing Notre Dame women's basketball. For Ty McBride and for Vince in the studio, Sean Stires, Budweiser's Weekday Sports Beat with IrishBreakdown.com. We'll see you.